minus Kingdom on Comedy Central. He's a regular here at Caroline's. Put your hands together for John Kawie. Give him a big hand, John Kawie.
How are you? You're looking a lot. You should see these people in front. They're looking. They're like... They're staring at me like, you know, we expected a comic, and I got this cross between Gregory Hines and Mahatma Gandhi. Like I really went for the look, you know. I woke up this morning, Robert Redford, and I shot over to Sassoon's, you know. Excuse me, we all have a Heinz Gandhi thing, please. Yes, because there's going to be some white people at Caroline's. They're just staring at me. So,
Well, I was doing stand-up comedy before the stroke, but I figured if I'm going to do stand-up, you got to move to New York. So I moved down here, and I was excited. I was working most of the clubs in the city at the time, and my stand-up was getting noticed. I was in the Toyota Comedy Festival, and
dating was really weird for me. I grew up in an Irish neighborhood. Any Irish people here? My applause. All right. Irish? I love the Irish. I do, because you guys are terrorists too, except you do it drunk. So it's more fun, you know.
Things started to happen. Things started to turn around. I got a Comedy Central spot on stand-up, and you know, then I had the stroke. So that was devastating. And I was getting the stroke. I had the stroke a week after I got married.
I was in shock when it happened, as was he, and we both just said, okay, after the first night, that you'll get up and you'll get better, you know. And then when it suddenly sank, you know, or started to sink in, that what was really going on.
I figured I was never going to do stand-up again. I didn't have the timing down, and I couldn't remember my act. And I thought my life was over, pretty much.
Look at this. I'm limping around New York City looking like a wounded immigrant. I'm trying to get a cab. Nobody's picking me up. Why? Because I look like a weirdo. Damn.
I remember him walking down the hall and with an aide and barely walking. I mean, that was an accomplishment just to get him out of bed. But the look on his face when he realized that, you know, it wasn't going to get better. And I think that's when it really hits you that you got to move on now from that. This is the way it's going to be, and you just have to move on from there.
To go to bed one night and be fine and wake up the next morning and have a stroke, it's a big deal. It's a game changer.
But, you know, he just had that attitude from day one. I'll beat this, I'll be okay, and we're just going to really get through this and get through it together.
It's difficult and it's painful, and your life changes in ways that I think I could not even understand as a professional, you know, on so many levels. But I think the one thing I can say from doing this for a long, long time and working in rehab a long, long time, and I don't mean to be corny, but the human spirit is an incredible thing. And I think the reality is, and I think John showed it, throughout all of it, it's going to be okay.
So then I started doing rehab, which was the dark period of my life, and which rehab is a funny thing because you have to do it, but it definitely points out your deficits. It really shows you what you cannot do and what you used to be able to do, like memory, you know, which is an amazing thing that's just gone after a stroke, and my memory was totally shot.
My memory, totally shot after the stroke. Post-its are my life. Always come prepared. If it doesn't have a post-it on it, completely forgotten. I can't tell you how many pots I melt trying to boil water for tea. My wife comes home and cracks a joke about it. She says, oh, this one looks like SpongeBob SquarePants smoking a cigar.
So I went to group therapy, and group was I hated it, but it was really good because they allowed me to tell a joke in the beginning of group every week. So I would work on this joke every week. I would, you know, because I was like, this is my stage, group therapy, this is it, you know. So I worked on this one joke every week, and so I would tell the joke every week. So it kind of got me back into stand-up a little bit. You know, I started writing again, and I wanted to work on this show, and that's when my psych therapist, Beth Milstein, comes in. I was talking to her about it every week, and I really want to work on my show. And she started telling me, call Joanna, my acting coach, Joanna Beckson.
And he called me from his therapist's office. He literally called me from her room. I said, "Hi, John, how you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm okay, Joanna, but I gotta tell you, I gotta do something with this." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm sitting here with my therapist, and I gotta make lemonades out of lemons." I said, "Okay."
He went back and took some classes with her, and he said that he had an idea for a show, and he wanted to write about his, the stroke. And she just coached him and said, "John, if you can't do it the way you used to, you're just gonna have to find another way."
So he'd start to write stories about what it was like in physical therapy, what it's like trying to make love to his wife, what it's like now walking down the street. And they were very funny, and some of them also were very poignant. And I think we did that for a good 6 months. And then after that class was over, we decided to stay together. And I said, "Well, what do you want to do, John?" I said, "I think this is a one-person show. I think you have to go for it."
Mothers with strollers. I hate mothers with strollers. They're not strollers. They're battering rams. And they've been in Starbucks for the last 24 hours.
We all know in the audience what's going on. We can see the guy, has physical problems. So to take the focus off that, in a way, and have us listen to the funny part, it's very impressive.
And they're starting to get aggressive.
I mean, for John to be able to laugh at himself, to be able to look at the hospital experience, or as professionals to laugh, to allow everybody to say, "This really is very funny." And I think that okayness, to be able to laugh at a disability and really laugh and understand it on so many levels, because just being familiar with all the things, obviously, that he was speaking about, it was funny, and the nice part, it sort of gave the permission for all of us to laugh.
I ran into a friend of mine the other day. He had a stroke 5 years before I had a stroke. He was trying to get a cab. I gotta show you this guy. He's in the lobby. He's at the door inside the lobby trying to get a cab. I said, "Man, they're not gonna see you in the lobby. Gotta go to the curb. Life is at the curb."
Doing stand-up is one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, because you're kind of up there without a rope. If you fail, it's all on you. There's nobody else to blame. You're your own writer, director, producer, and actor. So just getting up on stage is difficult enough. To tackle that with a disability, it's a whole other level.
I also meditate. When you meditate, you're supposed to clear your mind. Well, my whole life is a meditation because my mind is always clear. I'm a woman's perfect man. I listen. I don't understand what they're saying, but I'm listening.
I remember one time seeing him in a hall rollerblading. But what I remember most about it is other patients saw it, and then they wanted to start doing it. So I think the following week, there was another patient who asked to do it and ultimately did it, and then a lot of other patients who've had a stroke and other things started saying, I want to do this, I want to try that.
John has, I think, gotten to the point where not only has he maximized, forget functionally, but really on an emotional level, on all different levels, to really enable people to not only learn about stroke, but the important lesson is to really, you've got to sort of stick to your heart and look at your goals, and maybe with enough work, you can get there. So I think John is an inspiration on so many different levels, vocational being the most obvious, but I think to share his story has just enabled everybody to say, maybe, maybe I can go back, maybe there is a chance for me.